All right. Well, thank you for joining us. I want to tell you a little bit about us. So we are you.com. At you.com, we provide AI search infrastructure for you to build your agentic workflow with APIs. So every agent needs like fresh results. So our search APIs are made for agents specifically. And today we're gonna go into more like agentic skills. So I'll let Manish and Edward take it on, and then I will be there at the end to answer any of your questions that you might have, anything related to agents. Edward here, he's an expert agent builder. And I think like it's been predicted that there's going to be more agents on the web in a few years than actual humans. So it's a great skills to.
Awesome. So I think as agentic systems grow more capable, the biggest challenge shifts from building a single agent to designing structured skills architecture that remains reliable, scalable, and maintainable. And that's why in this workshop, we will be focusing on how to structure agent skills, orchestrate rules, and maintain control over agent behaviors as complexity grows. So it's not about, okay, how you work with like your tools on a singular level, but like not how you work on tools on a granular level as the complexity grows. And in this workshop, we will also cover practical architecture patterns, common failure models, and how to design composable agent systems using new.com agentic APIs. So I guess a common question will come, okay, what do you learn from today's workshop? So few talking points that I just wanted to provide is you will learn how to design modular composable agent skill architecture along with patterns for orchestrating tools, search, and actions reliability. Apart from common pitfalls when scaling and agent capabilities, okay, are they on a higher level? Is complexity on a lower level? Also, you will learn on how to implement structure agent system using u.com agentic APIs. So without wasting much of everyone's time, I will hand over the stage to Edward. Edward, the stage is all yours.
Hi, everyone. I'm Edward. I'm a senior software engineer here at U.com, and I work on our DX team. I'm going to go ahead and run through a quick presentation and then actually answer some questions and go and see what you guys want me to. Manish, you're going to be moderating this, right? All right. So, designing agent skills without creating chaos. So this is about. So the question is like, what if your agent could learn new capabilities from a single markdown file? We've seen that recently with auto research, and you could prove that what your agent is doing actually works with a single command. That's where agent skills come in. Um, they're not a replacement for MCP. MCP is giving you tools and discovery, type schemas, transport layer, server connectivity. What skills are giving you is the instructions and the workflows of how to do a thing, the best practices and patterns that you use to define what you're doing with your work. And they can actually work together. Um, but what is a skill? Well, a skill is just a simple markdown file, skill.md. Now, there are other parts, but what's important about them is that they're usually um, self-encapsulated and portable, which means that you can pretty much take them to any agent, 34 plus and counting, both background agents, coding agents, and desktop agents. They're valuable, meaning they're discrete units that you can actually evaluate again and again, checking their reliability and capability via a mixture of medians and means. And they're improvable because you can iterate on this and you can evaluate them. You can improve the outcomes of how they work. Now, at U.com, we've got a number of skills that we've built around integrations and using our APIs. And this is one that I'm always continually working on, trying to improve. It's a U.com CLI skill. It has a sister skill called the U.com API, which I'll show you a demo of in a second. But the cool thing about the U.com CLI skill is that when we want to understand a skill, this is a great one to look at. It's got its name, its description, and its license and compatibility, and most importantly, allowed tools, and a front matter block of the markdown file. This is what the spec is looking for. Additionally, you can add metadata, which is going to include information like author, version, and category. And then outside of that front matter, this area right here, you're going to have your prerequisites, in our case, but you're going to define the body of the instructions of what your workflow is, example, security concerns. And the cool thing about this is that you don't have to put everything in this file because skills are based on discovery. This is actually one advantage I have over MCP is that with skills, the name and description are really the only thing that are loaded into your context window when your session is going inside your agent. Your agent's going to decide whether or not it wants to use that skill based on inferring from your prompts. And then it's going to load up that skill and its body. And that brings everything in the body into the context window. But there might be links to like reference docs or code it needs to execute or assets that need to come that are available as part of the skill, such as images. The skill, when it's activated by the agent can choose to follow those simple markdown links to those assets, to those scripts, to those references, in a process we call progressive discovery. And then it's going to execute, and it's going to use the context provided, the instructions from the skill, and it's going to execute on the scripts. It's going to use those references, and it may even leverage those assets, such as an image or a PDF, in the process of carrying out your workflow or task. This is our first demo. I'm going to speed up a little bit so that you guys can have time for questions. But in it, I'm using a U.com CLI skill, and I'm using it in Cloud Code. When I use it in OpenClaw, it works a little bit different, but essentially it's the same thing here. I'm asking it about NVIDIA GTC. It's doing a curl command against our API. It's immediately pulling in some information from our research API. I'm now approving it to do another curl command, and OpenClaw, I don't have to, it just automatically does it for me. That's the beauty of autonomous agents. Once I've told it it can. And it's pulling in that information about what happened at GTC just recently. Except for this is like the wrong one, or the date's wrong. But the information is actually right, which is kind of weird. Um, and the cool thing is like, well, I don't really want to know about Nemotron. I mean, Nemotron's cool, but what I'm really interested in is what everyone else was, which is NemoClaw. And so then I'm going to follow it up with a follow-up search. And this is going to pull on our search API. And it's going to do a search against our search here. And this is where the agent is going to take the search results and it's actually going to pull them from the most recent things from the past month. It's going to pull them in. And it's going to then take those and combine them to make another query using research. And it's going to pull that all together into a final actual response of like letting me know about NemoClaw. And it's going to actually have the right date this time, 2006, with announcements, letting me know about the Blackwell chips and the GTX Sparks, which I actually just bought myself, and how it works. All right, next slide. So the cool thing about that skill is that it wasn't something I got right the first time. It's a skill I keep working on by using an eval suite. And so an eval suite is a living artifact. It's never fixed. You don't just like write your evals once and you're done. You continue to both improve your eval suite and also improve the things you're evaluating against. And Anthropic wrote a great paper called Demystifying Evals for AI Agents. We use that here at U.com when we were evaluating our search MCP server inside of different agents to see how well it worked. At the time, I thought, like, wait a minute, I could probably use the skills too. And I did. And it turns out that's actually what the industry has been moving to. If you actually go to the skills spec website, agent skills spec website, you'll see that they now have a section on doing these type of evals. And even OpenAI put out a recent paper on doing them. So for us, the way our skills work, our eval prompt is simple. We provide a prompts.json L file, and there's some meta information in there. But the most important thing is like it's one or more prompts that we pass to a headless invocation of an agent. In this case, we use Claude Code often. It captures the trajectory, meaning like all the different steps that Claude Code took using our skill. And then we pass, and then for each of those like this final outcomes, we are testing the generated code. We are testing the linting. We're testing the formatting, and we're passing that both the CLI output from those like deterministic scripts, and we're passing the files that are generated to an LLM as a judge. In this case, we're probably using in this one, I believe we're using actually Gemini. And the judge is going to assess the outcome of those scores, those of both our deterministic tests, which make up part of the score, and then the element as a judge, which assess the quality of the output in a more probabilistic manner. And then those two are combined to give us a weekly result or a result here in time, because we do run these weekly, so that allows us to see if we have regressions. Oops, did I go back too far? Oh, there we go. All right. So here's an example of this is running. So this is running over our u.com API, API skill, and this is the Python variant. We actually have instructions for both Python and TypeScript inside the skill. And you can see the prompts are in here. Like I'm asking it to um, Danish skip permissions. That's probably not a thing you want to do outside of an eval. But using the u.com API skill, create a working Python application that calls u.com research API directly with requests to get synthesized cited answers to a question. Write flat minimal code with no comments or doc strings, and write integration tests that call the real API and insert a meaningful response content. It's a pretty long prompt, but it allows us to really exercise the skill.
I,
Um,
I think if you can just zoom in the screen, that would be helpful for the panelists.
let's see if
So
I can
they are,
make this bigger. I don't know if I can make this much bigger. I can go kind of full screen there. That's about it. And then,
I think they
yeah,
should be good.
yeah. And then what happens is that this takes a while to run, so I'm going to skip ahead. And then after it does that one, we pass it another prompt where we say like extend this integration because we want to see it building on the code it already generated. And this is going to say, you know what, go ahead and you add search and contents to it. And then I'm going to skip ahead a little bit more because this is like pretty much it's just running in the background. And then it's going to run the tests that were generated as part of this entire process. And you can see that, what the test was, 19 items um, total. And then it's going to say 19 passed, and it's runtime. And then it's going to give us a results. And like I can generally see like a failing score is anything below 65. But the cool thing is that I can go to our next slide, and I'm going to actually back out a bit. Oops. And you can see like our score was 0.88 for this. Our video kind of skipped over this. Sorry, I want to like get you guys to this right here. There we go. Let's pause there. Okay, sorry. So it generates a markdown file at the end of our evaluation, and this is actually contains our score, which say what the API skill was, variant, if it passed, the score, and then it's going to tell us a little bit about this. And it does that for all of our skills. This one right now is still sitting at 0.88 consistently. It needs to have work. That is a pass and a strong, but the assertions are weak, and it usually means that there are things we can do to improve outcomes based on the prompt, the LM as a judge rubric we put into each one of our skills. Now, we could try and calibrate that to improve the rubric to make the score go up, but really, we're really happy with the way right now that LM as a judge system prompt works. So we're going to work on trying to improve the scale to get it into the 0.9 to the 1.0 area where it has more meaningful assertions and the code looks like it's something you would actually use even more. But generally, if you're in, for us, if we're in this range, this means we have viable, good skills. And so, like I said earlier, skills are complementary. One of the things I'm working on right now is we have a u.com MCP server. We also have API packages. You can use our API using curl commands. I'm looking at trying to create a better unified skill that allows an agent to decide when to use an MCP server, when to use our API, when to build custom scripts, and keep that within a relatively small amount of context so the agent knows how to properly use our APIs, our MCP servers to accomplish the goal in the best way for the user of our skill. Um, so what can you do today? Extract your most repeated workflows and prompt sets and put those into a skill MD. And then check out the agent skills spec site and to learn how to they have some really great advice of setting up eval flows. Setting up eval flow is not super hard. I use .json file files, but there are other file formats you can use. It's really about any file format you can iterate through the items on and then pass that to an agent or a model to evaluate the outcome. So making a small agent harness will allow you to be able to set up a simple flow for doing this. And then you want to obviously not just do it once. You want to make multiple attempts for each one of those prompts so that you can actually get some reliability and capability scores. And that's one of the things that the Anthropic article really made clear and that I also agree with. Like, if you do it once, it's cool, but can't do it reliably again and again. And is it capable of doing it again and again? Um, So again, agentskills.io, great site. This is where our repo is, and then this is the eval harness we're using right now. That's going to be archived. I built that in my personal project, and it's going away this month as I move to moved all logic from that into a new personal agent framework. Um, and again, check out the same topic article. It doesn't just apply to agents, it can apply to skills and it can apply to other things. And also look into auto research, which I've found has been really useful in applying to some of my trial evaluation flows. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Edward, for explaining it so clearly and so perfectly. So if you all have any questions, concerns, thoughts, if you want to ask something to us, feel free to share and drop your questions in the chat. Also, we have Q&A panel, so you can drop your questions there as well. We will try to answer it either live or via chat. So now is your time.
Yeah, I have a question. Edward, so let's say I want to start building an agent from scratch, right? Like, where should I go? How do I start? Do I use Claude Code? Can I vibe code it? What do you recommend?
I think if you're trying to build an agent from scratch, the best way to start is with an existing coding agent. So that's a good way to go. Cloud Code's an option. Codex might be a slightly better one just because I think it's better at allowing you to iteratively do things versus having to like start with like large specs and plans. I do use both in my work. If you are, and then it's also about what type of agent you're trying to build. Um, there are different types of agents. So there are the types of agents that are you're going to build for like running workflows inside of your business, which might be a Crew AI or LlamaJane based agent. There are the type of background agents that those might work well with. Then there are sort of like your black box agents, like where it's just going to you're going to define a huge spec and then pass it to that and then wait for it to output something for you. That those two frameworks also work really well with that. Then there's personal agents, which is actually my preferred type of agent these days. And that's like OpenClaw or the mini claws that are out there right now. And those are a little bit different. You can communicate with them from like usually different client adapters. But you can build all of those pretty easily now by simply going and finding a good reference one, picking your preferred language that you want to work in, assuming you have a coding language you're like really comfortable with, and then and then one generating out a spec for it and test for it. And this is where auto research comes into play. If you can actually take the auto research approach and actually create a program in D for like each of the little features you want to do, and then point your coding agent at it to get you started. Then initially you can get to a place where you start generating scripts and whatever. And this is where a scripting language might be really useful as part of this process, even especially if you're using a language that's not scripted, to go ahead and write code for what you want. And so this will be like a lazy agent harness. And this is what I use in my personal project, where like I will use Codex as the initial starting point, and then I will have it generate a script. That script, however, is going to use like Open Router, and it's going to use three different models from Open Router. Right now, I'm using GLM M2.5 and Moonshot's M2.7 to carry out generation, judgment, and then a thing called meta verification, which have been a lot of research papers on. And that allows me to have GLM generate assets, and then have M2.5 or M2.7, depending on what I'm trying to do, judge it, and then have the other one actually verify that the judgment makes sense while also having deterministic tests as part of the overall flow. So I never do anything where it's like pure LM as a judge. And that allows me to like actually iteratively improve a feature in a direction I want to. And so if you do that if you've planned out how you want your agent to support, then you can go ahead and work with an agent like Codex to help orchestrate that and make it happen. And I find that's really useful. For me, I use it for everything from like synthetic data that I'm going to be using or real data to be generating I'm going to be using for training a model. So like recently I've been using our APIs here at U.com to take a bunch of Internet Archive data on a thing called HyperCard and convert those to modern corollaries. And then actually, I wrote a little tiny script. Well, I did. I had Codex write a script that basically goes through this long prompt, these JSON-L file, shows me what the modern corollary that was generated was when I think I had GLM and M25 do this one. And then what I'm doing is I'm in Tmux on my phone whenever I have time. It's a running session, and I'm looking at the prompt they gave me, and then I'm giving it feedback on whether I like it or don't like it. What happens if I want to refine it? I'll tell it what I don't like or what I want to refine about this prompt. That's going to eventually be used to train a model, and it's going to actually go off and do auto research and actually a bit of a fan out, which is similar to Agent Hub, where it spins up different instances of this tiny little micro agent harness for these models to go and generate new prompts and then pull them back and judge which one it thinks best and aligned with a standard that is like fixed across every single session. Um, and eventually that gets me to what I want to an agent. But if you just want to generate like a simple coding agent, I think, your best bet is Codex and then use a framework like Pi. Pi is a really good one to start with because you can build on top of it. It's flexible and you can make it what you want. It also comes with a really great headless solution, which means you can actually start using it for different use cases other than just coding in your CLI. You can also use it for setting up a personal agent. That's what OpenCloud was built on originally. You can use it for setting up background agents for your entire organization that will allow it to run multiple sessions for different users. You can also use it for orchestrating even more complex things, though in that case, if you want like real complex end-to-end workflows, Crew AI and probably LangChain and LangSmith stuff are going to be your way to go.
So let's talk a little bit about OpenClaw. All right. We have a question from Paolo, but also I have a question for you. I want to start using it on my computer, but I'm scared. Like, is it secure to install on the computer right now, like in the terminal? What should we do? What do you
Do not do not
recommend?
install it on or do not install it on our work machines.
How then would you make it work?
If you don't have an extra box to make this work, like a Mac Mini or something or something that can actually handle running that continually and using that much memory, then I would go ahead and look at using some of the services that are coming out right now. So Moonshot has a service coming out. There's KimiClaw. You can also, these are like cloud hosted versions. That's a good place to start. And you can control your inference costs by modifying the heartbeat rate so that it's not always running all the time and killing your token consumption and killing you with token consumption. If you do want to run locally, then I say going for a Mac Mini, there's a couple of like AMD boxes that are like pretty good for this that aren't too expensive. Or if you really want to run like some crazy local models, getting one of the DGX Sparks platform boxes, the Blackwell boxes, allows you to run this locally while also like leveraging like remote models from like OpenRouter. And OpenRouter is probably your best way to go as far as being able to like switch through different models with this stuff.
So, I also just for all of you to know, I downloaded like Claude Code and it's kind of doing some agentic workflow now. So another question is you talked a little bit about skills, but can you tell us what is the difference between what is the difference between MCP and skills and how would we build an MCP integration?
Yeah, so building MCP integration, it depends on whether you are connecting to whether you want to run it locally or whether you want other people to be able to use it. If you want it to run locally, the easiest way to do it is to build it in Python or to build it in TypeScript. You would build a local MCP server. The Model Context Protocol SDKs from Anthropic are really great. Those are the default ones. There's also Fast MCP if you're working with Python. That's very popular. You can just go ahead and use Claude Code to help you build it. Or Codex. I would not try it. Like if you're not familiar with it, you can always point it to the docs. If you want to install MCP inside of one of those, there is a file. There's for Claude and for like a lot of the Claude-like ones like OpenCode and Droid and even Cursor. There's usually an MCP JSON file, and you're going to go ahead and set that you can configure. You simply need to tell your agent, what you're trying to set up. It'll set it up for you, and then you just have to restart your session, and it'll be usually automatically provisioned. For skills, it's a little bit easier. There is a node package called skills, and you don't even have to actually have it installed locally. Just type npx or bunx skills, the word, add, and then point it to a GitHub repo that has a public skill you like. And it will go and grab it, and then it will allow you to select what skills from that repo you want to use, and it'll install it into a directory called .agent skills and symlink it for your particular agent that you select as part of the interactive command line. That's really important because it means like once you've got it installed, you can like, continue to use it as is and update it, or you can like modify it as you want. It's a little bit, and that gives you more flexibility. There's really the difference between the two is that MCP exposes tools, resources, and prompts, but doesn't tell your agent how to use them. Whereas a skill allows you to tell your agent how to use a CLI, how to use a MCP server, how to use um, basic libraries you've installed, or just how to like what you want it to do, a basic workflow, and then allow the agent to figure it out. MCP is just giving you really clean, what we call remote procedural call tools to not just to tools, but also to like things like resources, assets, and prompts that you can use, but your agent has to like keep all that in context and figure out when to use it. And that's a little bit harder when you're working with less powerful models. Whereas if you're working with a very powerful model, it may be too much context and you get to like crazy context bloat issues. And so that's why skills are really great. And also why a lot of agents have moved to not bringing all the MCPs into the context window. Instead, there's usually a reasoning step where they do a semantic search over not just their skills, but now the MCP schema to find stuff that may accomplish the goal that you're asking it to accomplish.
Okay, and another question for you. So I right now, like agents and AI is moving so fast, it's kind of hard to keep track of everything that is happening. How are you learning all of that, right? Because it's not like a traditional university degree anymore because it's moving so fast. How are you keeping up with everything?
So for me, I keep up with things via like a couple different mix. One of the best things about being an Android user is that like while our mobile apps suck compared to iPhone users, Google is great at understanding exactly what I'm interested in. So every day I wake up and Google gives me a list of like interesting articles that from like everything that's AI related from the sources I go to on a regular basis that I read. So it's keeping and I'm happy to keep letting it track me to do that because it allows me to stay on top of it that way. The other way is that I'm a medium.com user. There's loads of great Medium articles I've been reading towards data science for years and years now. And Medium has decent analytics on knowing what I like. And so they push usually the type of articles I want that are going to be AI related to me. And then finally, YouTube. I love podcasts. I've been listening to AI podcasts like This Week in Machine Learning for so long. 12 mil is what it's called now. And because of that, my YouTube algorithm is pretty much geared towards a lot of like coding and very much AI, LLM stuff these days. And so I'm usually find out about new things within like 24 hours of them happening just on that. I don't use X, though I know a lot of people do. But between those three sources right there, it's great. And then because I like to read a lot, but I'm also busy, I definitely leverage the accessibility feature and just have like loads of articles read to me off the web while I'm doing something else.
What are some of your top podcasts?
My top podcast. So Latent Space is always fun, though it gets a little like it gets a little like little extra sometimes. This Week in Machine Learning is like going to be from a hardcore algorithms, LM researcher stuff. I love going there to hear like the like latest hardcore tech stuff. Um, AI Engineer is a conference series, and I love that. That's on YouTube, almost exclusively. And so those are like my three top ones for that. And then there are like some other ones, like Lenny's podcast is pretty good. And there's a new one that I had just like heard recently that I do not remember the name of, but let me see if I can like pull it up on my history. For like this particular topic. I don't know if it's gonna show up. Oh man. Do, 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 do. No, it's not showing up. I'm sorry. Oh, Light Cone. That one's good. That's a Y Combinator one. And I do occasionally listen to that because I like to hear what's going on in like the startup scene. Because they usually, but again, it gets a little meta, a little like you guys are a little out of there. But yeah, those are my three top right there. It's definitely gonna be a new stack. It's going to be Latent Space and definitely AI Engineer. I love the conference series. Those are gonna be like where I get some of the best stuff.
Awesome. All right.
Oh, now I remember who it is. Sorry, I did just find this guy because I do want to share this one, and this is the my favorite. There's a guy called Nate B. Jones. He does AI news and strategy daily. If you get a chance, check out Nate B. Jones on YouTube, AI news and strategy daily. He's gonna like go from everything from like business level to like deep tech stuff. It's cool.
Awesome. All right. So some questions here are coming up. How do you test that skills and repos are safe?
So that is a really good thing, a cool thing. So if you are publishing your skill and by publish I mean you just like install your skill in another GitHub repo by using the skills.js install flow I was talking about, you actually will get a really cool. It'll automatically through OpenTelemetry be pulled into Vercel skills.sh site. And so you can go and find your skill on there by using your repo and your organization repo name. And then you can find your skill and it'll actually do a scan of it, automated scan for you. But there's actually some really cool tools out there that are coming out there now that I think we all should like really start considering adding directly into our projects versus that really hacky way I was just describing. So there's Gen Agent Trust Hub, which is a service you can use. And then there is Socket, which is another service that Skills uses. And then finally there is Sync. And Sync has been around for a very long time for anyone who's like had like their node packages scanned. And so all of them are now offering like services built around this. And I think if you want to know if a skill you're using or if a skill you're making is safe, these are tools you can bring into your CI and local process to actually do that. OpenClaw uses some of these as well. I find that ClawHub is not the best as terms of security or even tooling, and I would recommend like the tools that like Vercel is using with their skills.sh project, honestly, for doing security audits.
Awesome. Thank you. Another question, just curiously, if you are a developer making tools for AI, is it more important to make it a simple tool that they can quickly integrate or a tool that is complete from end to end so that it works and the AI can use it for sure? We're trying to make tools right now for AI and are looking for some direction from the community.
Yeah, if you're making a tool for AI, the things to consider are is it something that can run locally or is it something that requires a remote service? And is it something that's going to have latency or not latency? I would say that I would keep it simple at first. One of the things about, so like you may have seen a lot of articles talking about CLIs over MCP. There is some truth to that. And so if you can think about the common, if you're just like mapping to APIs, a CLI is going to be really simple. And by that, I don't mean a CLI built for humans. I meant a CLI that seriously like where its first positional argument is just like a JSON string that you would never want to write as an argument, but that an AI can generate super easy. And then adding the option where like, you have your usual help flag, but also one thing I add is a schema, and then I'm asking for the input or output flag. I add an argument of output or input after the schema flag I put, and that allows an AI agent to like know exactly what the input and output schema is for a given any of the other given deterministic API flags I have on there. So like for our API u.com OSS API node package, that's also it exports reusable utilities that we use for like fetching, for like search, contents, and research. But it also has a CLI that is not designed for a human being to use. It's designed exclusively for an agent to use. And so I can just I can point an agent at that CLI. It can immediately like use help, figure out what is available to them, and then use the input and output schemas to figure out how to send it without bloating its context every iteration, and then just use it when it needs to use it. And then I would probably just write a skill that might be like I have a particular way I would like it to use it. We have skills on how to use our APIs in general. But I also, in my personal project, I actually have a skill on how to use that particular package specifically. I think when you build something like that, you want to provide a skill that explains to the agent how to use that thing. But you don't have to make it complicated. Keep it simple. Honestly, like, and don't even try and overthink the command line interface. It doesn't have to be something fancy with like interactivity for a human because that's actually going to be intermediated by the agent more often than not, and you waste time trying to set that up.
Will you post these links to the podcast and the post-session resources? Yeah, I think we can. So we'll send out like the video and the slides as well. There's a few, I don't hear who is here in San Francisco. Maybe put on the chat. I want to learn more about you. Put what you do and then also put where you're from because I have a few events that I want to talk to you about. So if you're in San Francisco, we have an AI researcher today meetup. We have over 100 researchers from like top companies like OpenAI, Meta, LinkedIn, Amazon, Google. Just come over. I will give you now here, I'll put the Luma so you can apply to join. Would love to have you. And then next week we have our YouCode Forum, which is a national event series where we interview like top CTOs. We did one in New York. It was super successful. And then we have one in New York coming up. I will send it. Let me post it here. Hold on, calendar. And also check out our Luma calendar, you.com. We have tons of events coming up. So all of these can be found here. And then also please go ahead and create your API key because you get like 100 credit free for you.com. Also, Manish, Edward, follow us on LinkedIn. Here, we'll post it here. Can you guys post your LinkedIn? So if there's any questions, feel free to reach out to us there. We would love to stay in touch. And then Manish will talk a little bit about the community we have on Discord.
Awesome. Yeah. So I think, first of all, I would love to say, okay, this was really a great technical workshop. And thank you, Edward, for all the insight that you've shared with the community. Apart from Edward sharing resources, I think another way to be on top of what's latest and best in the market is also subscribing to our newsletter or just subscribing to you.com/resources. So we have our AI engineers, data scientists publishing a lot and ton of good content in the market. So if you just hop onto you.com/resources, I have shared that link in the chat. You will see, okay, we have ton of resources and articles about, okay, best practices, how you can use OpenCloud to integrate to your Discord community, which we did with our you.com Discord community. And also Edward has published on how we have updated our skills to OpenClaw. So you can read that article as well. And then lastly, I think we have our Discord community of over 28,000 members. So if you feel stuck on in your journey, if you're just starting with APIs, or if you are in the middle of any project and you need help with anything, just feel free to join our Discord community. Our community is super responsive. You will not only have the response from you.com team, you will also get the response from our community members. So if you're stuck on any stage, our community members are super responsive and they will help you in any stage of your work. Or if they are not able to help you, then we are there to help you in any case. So yep, that's it from mine.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. We're going to have these monthly, and I hope to see you at a future event.